Comedy Simp, the podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James, the host you won't wanna miss. From Seattle to the world, his humor will persist. Join the fun, get ready to enlist.
You're on in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me. It is Comedy Simp, and I am your host, comedian Stephen Michael James. Welcome back. Welcome back to my garage here in Granite Falls, Washington on this beautiful June, this rainy, sunny June Pacific Northwest night. How are you? How's everybody doing? It's been a minute. It's been a little while. Let's see. It's actually last time I posted a podcast was April 24th. That's probably been the longest break that I've had since we've been doing this thing. This guy's here. He knows what's up. What's up, buddy? This guy doesn't have a name yet. We got to give him a name. The unofficial co-host. This is actually, I have to admit something. This is Rob, people. This is Rob. He finally OD'd. No, it's my skeleton. I actually have some plans for this skeleton, but anyways, let's just relax. Let's kick it back. I'm drinking a Sprite with tea. I don't know what to think about it. It's a little bit interesting. Couple flavors that you never thought would be mixed together. What are some of your favorite soda flavors, that have been mixed together in the past? Me personally, I like the Coke coffee. That was good stuff. Anyways, I just wanted to check in. Been thinking a lot about the podcast recently, you know. It's things have been different lately, you know. Things have changed a lot. Things have changed in the past few years. So let's see, where are we? What has been happening? First of all, like I said, the last time I did a podcast, I talked about my friend who had passed away, and yeah, it was kind of a bummer, but I had to do it, you know. Like, I felt personally like I wanted to tell these stories and honor the dude. And, you know, even though the name of the show is Comedy Simp, it's not always straight up comedy, which reminds me of a lot of people on Threads, but we can get to that later. But yeah, since then I've been just doing the stand-up, you know. I wish that I could say I've been working on podcasts, but no, the stand-up has always been the most important thing, and the whole reason why I do this in the first place is to try and get better and get more shows. You know, first of all, shout out to Allison Fine and Open Mic Collective. They're this group of comedians in the Tacoma, Olympia region that they put together shows and open mics, things that you could sign up for. Sometimes they have prizes, sometimes they don't, but it's a good way for a young comedian to try and get some stage time, especially at some odd places. You know, some of the most interesting places that I've performed stand-up have been with the Open Mic Collective, you know. We had Spud's Pizza in Tacoma, a pizza place that feels like it's straight out of the 80s, it's actually really cool. Great potato skins. Also, cool brewery in like Olympia, and I think even the bowling. Did she do the bowling alley? I don't know. I just know I did comedy at a bowling alley, and I'm pretty sure the Open Mic Collective was were part of it. But yeah, they had a couple contests at Halcyon Brewing, which is next to the Shanghai Room, RIP. And I have done comedy at Halcyon Brewing before. Halcyon? I don't know. Halcyon. What happened to breweries, man? beer used to be so cool. I was just telling somebody about how beer was a big thing like 10 years ago, but that's neither here nor there. First time I went to Halcyon Brewing, Femi, shout out. It's been a while since I talked to you, buddy. Femi was putting on an open mic there. And I know that there had been a couple open mics in the past. I know they had probably done like a ladies show or something there. But when I did the open mic, there was nobody there. There was like 7 comics, and that's it. You know, it was pretty sad. It was one of the early dark days. You know, I'm in the dark days of comedy now, I feel like. But these were the real dark days. These were the Stephen Michael James can't even get one laugh, you know, let alone 3 or 4. And it was it's a cool spot. It's 2 rooms, you know. One room has got the bar with all the seating and the big tanks for the brewing, and then the other room is like a banquet style room. It's got some long tables and a stage. But did the contest there, and I did it twice. You know, I think I did it like one time in the beginning of May, and then I did it 2 weeks later. And in no way did I have any expectations of winning, because these competitions, you know, they're a little bit biased, if you ask me. You know, it's kind of more about like who can you bring and who. So I'll just explain. This is what happened one of the times. I don't remember if it was the first one or the second one. I feel like it was the second one. I feel like I had a really, really great set the second time I did this contest. Or maybe it was the first. Actually, I think it was the first, to be honest. I think I did a really good set, and then what happened was, you know, when they pick people to vote for is at the end of the show. And by the time the end of the show happened, half of the people that were there had already walked out, so they didn't vote. So the voting was pretty much left up to the comedians and a few patrons, you know. So I got robbed. I feel like it. But yeah, the second time I did that competition, I had what I felt like was a really great set, a really awesome set. I felt very good. And then immediately right afterwards, Jason Katz goes on. He has an even better set. And then Donald Robert goes on and has an even better set than me. So I was like, all right, I don't even need to hang out for this. There's no chance of me winning anything. I had a great time, had a good set. Let's skedaddle. And that's what I did. So, but those are fun. Open Mic Collective and the people who run it and put it together, they're really doing God's work. You know, they're really putting things out there for newbies, people that want to try and get better, try to get good. People like me. You know, I remember one time in particular at Spuds, there was like this couple that were like arguing. They were black, or at least the dude was black. I don't know if the lady was, but not that the race had anything to do with it, but just to paint the picture for you. And it was this big guy, and he was a little chubby, and he had like a soft voice. But apparently these people had been married in the past, and then they got divorced. And then it was like many, many years later, they were like having a conversation at dinner, pizza. And just so happened to be at the comedy show that we were performing at. And they were talking through the entire thing. And, you know, Allison addressed it. And yeah, it was fun. But also another time at Spuds, maybe it was the same time, somebody had dropped some dishes or spilled some dishes, and immediately I was like, I'll have what she's having. And perfect timing. Speaking of timing, we're going to talk a lot about timing and comedy clubs in a little bit. What else? Super funny. Nate Jackson's Super Funny Comedy Club. I slept on this place, brah. I slept on it. I first doing comedy, of course, it's like, oh yeah, that'd be great to go down there. They had some really cool pictures. It seemed like they had like a photographer or something when I first started doing comedy. So I went to the original Super Funny only twice. Apparently it had opened during COVID, and it had like a 5-year lease or something like that. So it was okay. It was a cool room. It was very, very large. It had a round stage, which I appreciated. It was probably the only stage I've been on that's been like round, but there was nobody there. Both times I did the open mic, there was nobody there. So I didn't go back for a very long time. And then I would say 6-7 months ago, 6-7 months ago, I had gone back and had like a really fun time there. And then just, for whatever reason, it's just hadn't planned it very well and kind of focused on like whatever, Tacoma or Seattle. But I have been to Nate's 3 or 4 times in the past month, and every time it's been a blast, either signing up ahead of time or like just showing up and signing up. I think they have been very warm and welcoming to me, which has been awesome, because sometimes I get in my own head and I feel like nobody likes me, which I could be right. I really think there's some truth to that, but not nobody, but certain people. But Super Funny has been great, and like it's a different style of comedy that I have to do. It's a different crowd. It's not like a black crowd. It's more just a different crowd, because there's this white guy that's there that he's like if Corey Hill went to the future and got hooked on meth, went to prison, found God, got clean, and then went back in time. That's what this guy's like. And he's awesome. He's like an ex-biker or something, but he's totally white. He looks like a white ex-biker. And there's just other people that I only see at, there's every club has got its people that only go to that club. And Nate's is diverse, man. But with that said, I found out really quickly that they don't really like some of the wordy, corny wordplay type jokes, like Seattle, Emerald City, they eat that up. Club comedy, we'll get to them. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about them, but they that style, that area, they like kind of that wordy, goofy, family type humor. And Tacoma Comedy Club is more just your traditional mainstream. You can kind of do anything, but it seems to be like the more raunchy type place to do comedy. And then Nate's is kind of in the middle. It's a little mix of both, but then it also has another thing, like there are some guys that are and girls, but there's some people that are very physical there, but then there's people that just sit on a bench and they kick their feet up, and they're also hilarious. So it's definitely been a surprise, and very happy to go down there. I remember one week I had signed up for Nate's, and I wanted to see if I can get on TCC, and Jojo Blacko, shout out, friend of mine, was there. So me and them walked back and forth a couple times, signing up for each one, trying to get on each one. We ended up getting on both. And that's when I discovered that I could probably hit both clubs if I make an effort to get down there. It's Tuesday night. It's not that busy. A lot of people don't show up. And especially at Nate's, the beginning of the night seems to be pretty more mellow. And then as the night progresses, more people show up and it gets a little crazier. And that's kind of like the time when TCC is ending. So it's a fun thing to do. It's kind of like in Seattle, you can do club comedy and Emerald City. Now, what I was going to do yesterday was, and I did Tacoma Comedy Club a few times too, but let's talk about that. Oh yeah. Well, I guess the one thing I could say is I closed out the open mic for the first time which was cool. It's there wasn't that many people there, but it was the first time I closed down the mic. And, I've only done more than 5 minutes at those clubs a handful of times, probably 2, 3 times. So, the progress in my little career here seems to be moving a little bit. It seemed to be moving the needle a little bit. It feels like it, at least. But so I was gonna go down to Tacoma yesterday. Didn't sign up for any of the mics, but I was like, might as well do it. I can hit TCC, I can hit Nate's, and I getting excited. What happens is throughout the day, I like to obviously get on social media and see what people are posting and see who's on the list and where can I go. I like to get excited. I really like to work myself up, and I think I messaged somebody. I saw Haley Rogers posted something about it, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm going to be down there. And then Macy Yo was going to be closing it out. I was like, oh, yeah, Macy. Hell yeah, I can't wait to go down there. And then I had saw that somebody had posted that the mic was canceled. And I was like, oh, man, that sucks. And I just made the last minute decision before I got out of work. I was like, you know what? I'll just go to Seattle. I don't know for sure if TCC is closed, but if it is, it's a long way to go for one comedy club, which is, I'm no stranger to doing that. I've been doing that forever, but I'm trying to be a little more strategic with my planning these days, seeing as I don't have a babysitter at home. Got to pick and choose when I leave the house. So yeah, I was gonna go to. I ended up going to Seattle instead of Tacoma because turns out it was closed. I never found out why, but Macy had messaged me and said, "Yo, I tried to go to the club and the doors were locked." So it turns out that they had. Well, they were doing something tonight where you can show up and go up and all that, but. Went to Seattle, and first I went to Emerald City, put my name in there, got picked at actually, I didn't even write my name in a bucket. It was just a list. So I put myself at the end of the list because I was like, all right, now I could definitely hit 2 spots. So then I go, I see Jojo Blacko, friend. I just saw Jojo the couple weeks ago at TCC. So it's like, hey, Jojo, what's up? We gonna go to Club Comedy? Yeah. So we walked to Club Comedy, and of course, it's 6:50, I think, and the doors are locked. It doesn't open till 7. Doors aren't supposed to open till 7. So we just hang out, and a couple people show up. We're talking. There's another comic. And then the owner of Club Comedy shows up and goes in, and then the guy working the door goes in, and they finally open the doors at 7:10, 10 minutes after it's supposed to open, and go in there, put my name in the little bucket there, use the bathroom, hang out, talk to some people. 7:30 comes around, they're writing the list out. The list isn't ready yet. 7:40, 45. See people the list is getting, all right, there are people taking pictures of the list. I go up to look at the list. The list is only halfway done. My name isn't even on there yet. And I'm like, Jesus, what's going on here? And, it takes a little bit longer. Finally, at 7:47, even though 7:30 is start time, 7:47 is when the open mic finally started. And I was just looking at the list there. I was finally on in the middle somewhere. And Club Comedy's different, man. It's its own thing. It is technically a comedy club, but it's not owned by one of the major chains. It's not one of the ones that's been in Seattle for 15, 20 years. It's its own thing. It's only been around for a little while, and they really lean into the neighborhood aspect of it. In fact, they had a new sign inside that I had never seen before about it being like kind of the neighborhood bar, the neighborhood comedy club, focusing on local comedy, which is cool. I think it's great. But it also feels a lot like it's a club and you're not in it, So finally I see the list. I'm on there, and some names have 3 minutes, some names have 4 minutes, some names have 5 minutes. Some people have their name next to the list with the line pointed in like they were last minute additions. So bottom line is, I was like, man, it's going to be a while before I am going to be up here on this stage, and Emerald City's open mic has already started at 7:00. So, bear in mind, it's about 8:00. They're like on number 3 of the list. I'm like number 15, 18, something like that. I had at least 30 to 40 minutes before it was my time. So I take the 10 minutes. I walk back down to Emerald City Comedy Club. There's Adam Tiller. There's Mike Heath. There's all my boys, and the mic's going on. Oh, yeah, and I had messaged a couple people, too, just to kind of find out where they're at. They said they're at number 15. I was number 23, doing the math in my head. I'm like, okay, they're like 4-minute sets. I probably got like less time. All I knew is I had less time to get to Emerald City and get my set done than I had to do club comedy. So go down to Emerald City, and they're not where they told me they were. All right. They said they were at 15. They were more at like 12, and I'm 23. Keep bear in mind, Jesus Christ, I don't know what to do. So I'm waiting. And then this list that Mike shows me is not the list that I had signed up. They had like redid the list. He had a new list on a different piece of notebook paper, So I don't know. I started panicking, and I was like, God, I'm going to miss my spot at Club Comedy now. This sucks. And so I was like, I guess I will run back to Club Comedy. I'll do the set, then I'll run back to Emerald City, and then I'll do my set, and then I'll leave, So I start walking back, and I'm like, I just start jogging. I don't know why. I was like, I'm going to miss my spot. I'm going to jog. So I start jogging over there, and I see this comic, Blake Kiltoff, walking the other way. And so I'm like, oh, man, he just did his set. And then I was like, Blake was only like 2 people behind me. There's no way I'm going to make it. They probably already called my name. Either that or they're going to call my name as soon as I walk in the door. This is BS. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I missed it. And then I start walking. I turn back around. I start walking back to Emerald City Comedy Club. And I catch up with Blake. And I was like, oh, man, I was going to try to make it, but I guess I missed out. And he's like, oh, you missed your spot? You can still go up. And I was like, oh, no, you were like 2 people before me. And he was like, oh, no, I just had them move my name to the end of the list. I haven't gone up yet. I was like, oh, my God, I guess I could have made it. But whatever. I was kind of like fuming a little bit. I was kind of mad and I'll tell you why I was mad in a second. But I ended up just doing my one set at Emerald City. And it was good. It went really well. I did a couple of my main, classic jokes, and peppered in a couple new ones, and they went well, and I can't complain. It was fun. I wish I would have got both spots, but I love that club. Emerald City is fun. Now, let me talk about club comedy. Okay. Club comedy. Okay, this is in no way meant to be disparaging at all. This is just based on my experience and my experience alone. And that is, I personally feel like, it's I don't know. I don't want to say a cult because that's kind of a rude way to say it, but it's kind of like you can only perform here, and if you perform somewhere else, we don't like you. Kind of like, this is our club and you're here to support us and that kind of thing. And there are a lot of people who, like I was saying earlier, that only stick to certain clubs, and the people that stick to that club just don't seem to be very warm to me, especially some of the hosts. And some of the hosts, they seem just downright unhappy people, honestly. I mean, like, I can go to Tacoma, I can go to Everett, I can go to Kirkland, I can go to even some places in Seattle, and people are fun, like comedians who joke around, who are like, let's have a good time, let's make light of everything. And then there are just a lot of comedians that I see at Club Comedy that just are always unhappy. They just look like they want to throw up. They look like their antidepressants aren't working anymore. They look like they're on the verge of breaking down. And everybody has the same look on their face, and that is, I wish there was more people at this open mic. There's freaking 30 comedians and 7 audience members. And the deal is, they always put me at the end. They always give me 3 minutes and 3 minutes only, and every time I go there, I do well. I mean, people laugh, they have jokes. I'm not trying to say I'm the top comedian, because that would be stupid. But if you had to rank all 30 people at that open mic, I'm definitely in the top 10, as far as getting the audience to respond to me. I'm not trying to say in the grand scheme of things, I'm a better comedian, but if you want to rank that particular night at the open mic, some of these top tier headliners are just not putting in any effort or commitment. They're just showing up just to say they showed up, just to read from their little notebook. They're not really performing for the people in the audience who actually paid money. So yeah, I don't know. I just, and then the owner, I don't have anything bad to say about him, because I've never had any bad interactions with him, but he's just not the warmest, friendliest guy, unlike Nate Jackson's, where I can walk in there and everybody who works there is wonderful. Everybody is warm and welcoming, and they just seem cool. And same thing with TCC, and same thing with Emerald City. So I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's like, Steven, your California millennial dad, live in Granite Falls. We've seen you hang out with Rob Conroy and Casey Judson. We don't want your kind around here. Fine. It's all good. I just, whatever. It's just, at this point, I just don't even want to go there. I mean, it's a 3 minute and they're only going to give me 3 minutes. It's like, hey, here's my email. Send me your dates. And then you never respond to me. Well, all right. Well, it's fine. I would rather put my energy into places that like me, that send me emails and all that. Speaking of which, I think I'm going to be at Laughs Comedy Club finally. I don't have all the official details yet, but they are having a contest. They're teaming up with Bumbershoot, the big old festival in Seattle. The Seattle's version of Outside Lands, of Coachella, of Lollapalooza. It's like their version of that. Bumbershoot, they're doing like a comedy thing, and Laughs Comedy Club put out a thing. My friend Brian, shout out Brian Fukuda, thank you for that, said, hey, did you see this post? And I was like, no, I didn't see no post. And I don't know, just sent an email and said, hey, this is what's up, and I'd love to perform, try to do your contest, and got a response. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it sounds like, they did one night already. It seems like the first night because okay, this contest is going to be broken down into like 4 different nights, and it's basically like audience votes, and then the winner of each night goes on to the main show. And so the first night had already happened, and it was basically all kind of like the regular people who perform at Laughs. But the next 3 nights, they're going to schedule them, and it's a lot of people that I know, and I mean, cross my fingers and knock on wood, but this would be the first time I actually get to be there and perform at that club. So that'll be cool, man. I'm honestly looking forward to it. I've been there. I think I've only been there once before just to watch one of Rob's shows, and saw, Adam Tiller and Michael Aguilera. But I would, I'm interested to actually, just get a shot to perform on that stage and in that audience in front of those people. They had only watched one of my videos a long, long time ago, and they don't really do the audition thing anymore. And I really do well in front of a live audience. I haven't really been able to capture the SMJ experience on video yet. So I know it's hard to judge from videos. I'm sure everybody says that, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be on it and excited to try and, maybe do some more with them in the future. But it's a nice thing to cross off of a list that I didn't think I was going to be able to. So also Emerald City Comedy Club, one of my favorite places, place I was just at, place I just talked about. They are also doing a contest called Seattle's Funniest Competition. Now, this is separate from the Funniest Mammal. This is the same competition that the Helium people are putting on. And I've seen this at Helium Portland, and I think I saw it advertised at even another one. So I believe it's just the Helium locations, Helium, and they are part owners of the Emerald City there. So it's cool. I'm just excited to be part of it. Everybody gets a T-shirt and a drink, and there's cash prizes and stuff, but who even cares about the prizes? I just want to perform in front of the people, man. I just want the audience. I just want to see. I just want them to see what's going on, And so yeah, I got both of those coming up. I'm pretty excited. That one also just waiting for the date, but I'm definitely gonna be promoting that pretty heavily. Yeah, let's see. Next week, I am going to be doing a podcast. I'm going to be doing a podcast called Open Mic Heroes. And that's a couple guys down there in like the Centralia, Washington area. They do a podcast kind of like this a little bit. They interview local comedians. They've had a lot of people on, like many, many people, and they're very, very good. It's kind of it's very like that traditional guys hang type thing. And they asked me to be on it a long time ago, and I was scheduled. I don't know why this guy, man, he schedules way ahead of time. Like Derek Gladson, he schedules like, I swear to God, it's like 8 months ahead of time. Like, hey, can you do this podcast in, 8 months? It's like, sure. And then there it is. It finally came around. It's been 8 months. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. I've listened to a few of their episodes. They had a good one with Logan, and I think Stephen Ryan, and Robert Pinner was a good one. So yeah, I look forward to it. And that's what I'm going to give. I'm going to give you guys some real announcements on the Open Mic Heroes. So you better pay attention to that. But no, they're fun. But other than that, I mean, like the podcast thing in general, what else? Oh yeah, Rosebud. Yeah, I'll get to that too. Rosebud. podcast is it's weird. It's a weird thing, you know. It's not what it was. Everybody has these like rules and these expectations on what you should do to be successful. And I just think everybody's a bunch. It's a bunch of BS. Everybody just copies everybody else. You know, it's all about like, I mean, there's so many rabbit holes of like how to become famous on YouTube, and then all those videos they have hundreds of thousands of views, and that's just a grift. That's how they got rich and famous on YouTube. Was they created videos that say how to become rich and famous on YouTube, and then they do that on TikTok, and then the podcast people, and then, you know, what I'm trying to get at is that, like, you know, they try to tell you that, oh, you got to do your podcast every week or twice a week, and you got to stay consistently on schedule, and people going to tune in. And it's like, yeah, maybe that was the case prior to COVID, you know. But now everybody has a podcast. You know, I did my own podcast in 2015 for like a year, just my own kind of personal thing. And that was before it had become fully mainstream. What I had to do is I had to actually go in there, go do some research, figure out how to host audio files on, God, I can't even remember what it was, like Microsoft Journal or something like that. But whatever man, it was like some sort of a notebook or some sort of a web page type thing. But it took a lot of like coding and stuff like that. You had to go in there and you had to go to this website, and then you had to go to this Yahoo thing and get this IP address and ping it over here. And it took a lot of work. And then I had to put all the files on archive.org and Blogspot. That's what it was. It was a blog. I had to create a blog on Blogspot. And every episode, I would post the description and the audio link, and then it would go out to, you know, Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. It's very, very complicated. And this had been, you know, podcasts had already been around since like 2009, 8, 2007, you know, so it already been like 8 years old at this point. And it wasn't even that long, not much longer, much more time after that, you know, the companies started coming in and making money and be like, here's an easy way for you to create a podcast. We'll host it, blah, blah, blah. You know, unfortunately, a lot of those services, you know, like Podbean, people made their podcasts and then they stopped paying for the service, and then everything disappeared, you know. So sad. That sucks. But not me, not old Stephen Michael James. All my stuff is still on archive.org, you know, and it'll probably be there forever. Unless Russia wins, right? Yeah, no, it's, I've been thinking a lot about the podcast in general. And, you know, I'm only doing it when I want to do it. I don't care about the views. I don't care about the frequency of I gotta do it him. And now I don't even care about having most people on anymore. You know, a lot of people that I had asked to be on in the past that have passed that or couldn't make it or whatever. Now I'm not even interested. I'm just like, I moved on, you know, like at this point I've been doing comedy a little over 3 years, and a lot of comedians that I used to find interesting, I now find extremely boring. You know, like on stage, you present yourself as one thing, but off stage, you are just a completely boring, just loser dork. And I don't know, man. I need to be around people that impress me. I need to be around people that I feel like can elevate me, you know? And I don't mean that in a social way. I mean that more like creative people inspire me, you know, funny people inspire me, people that are kicking at, like, for example, like I'll be around like Casey McLean, right? This is a guy that not only is he a great comic who's put out a special, he's also like way into sports, and he's dedicated to putting out the Seattle sports stuff, and you know, kind of bridging the gap between comedy and sports. And then like Narin Van, another guy that I know that he has puts on all these different shows, and he does the roast thing, and he travels down to Portland to do the roast thing, and then he's connected with, you know, Josh Firestein, who's part of the, you know, Steven Crowder crowd, and you know, like, it's just I like people that are really putting themselves out there and trying to create something. And JoJo Blacko. JoJo's got like 70,000 followers on Instagram because JoJo puts out a lot of funny videos and like wrestling, and found a niche. Yeah, it's no disrespect to the open micers out there. I mean, I wrote down, I hate bars, and I'll be honest, like at this point, I mean, I used to like, when I started comedy and there were certain people that would only go to comedy clubs, I'm like, what? They're not real comics. They're not out there like doing it like us. But I was a fool. I was a dumbass. All right. I absolutely hate doing comedy at bars. I hate doing comedy in bars, comedy shows at bars, and more than anything, open mics at bars, you know. And I'm somebody who hosted an open mic at a bar many, many, many times. And although I wouldn't trade the experience, there's many nights that I did not want to be there. And I could have been doing something much, much better. I could have been in Tacoma at 6th and Proctor. But instead, I'm at the Whiskey Mile, and fucking John Banning is yelling the N-word, you know? Jesus Christ. You know, this guy, you know, a lot of people are talking about him. He's not my friend. You know, we're cordial. We're cool as far as I know. But I don't agree with the stuff that he does, you know, but I don't agree with the stuff that a lot of people do. It's not my job to police them, though. I mean, if he comes into my space, it's a different story. But that's why I stay away from the bars, because I don't want to be around these mentally ill people, you know? Like, the thing is, I just feel like when I was in a band, I didn't like playing the bars either. I wanted to be at the club. I wanted to be at the Boardwalk. Or I wanted to be at Ace of Spades, you know? Real places with, like, a backstage area, you know, a loading area, you know, a place where you can sell your merch. And like, yeah, man, when you run an open mic at a bar, you tend to attract the people that don't go to comedy clubs. And there's a reason they don't go to comedy clubs. Usually it's because, one, they know that they're not good enough to even perform at one. So they want to pretend to be a comedian so they can, you know, post for clout or whatever, or just feed their mental illness. Or second, which is more often than not, they're like just a nasty edgelord. Somebody who constantly just wants to say things about, you know, whatever, just the big political thing that's going on, the social thing, talk about minorities, and it's just like, it's just so cringy. I mean, just being at a bar, just being at a club, a comedy club, like, there's bad comics. So just imagine being at a bar versus a club. You're going to get that times 10. And then there's drunk people, and there's drug addicts, and there's, you know, this and that, and rigmarole, as they call it. But But with that said, R.I.P. Tony V's. Yeah, Tony V's. Tony V's was the only exception to that rule. And that is because Tony V's is where I started my stand-up journey. Tony V's Garage in Everett, Washington. Lot of memories there. Lot of memories. Apparently, they'd been doing comedy there for like 10 years or something. Oh, that's awful. But Tony V's Garage is it's a music venue / bar / pool hall. And they are like the place in Everett where like punk bands and metal bands and like grunge tribute bands play. They have like, you know, I'm pretty sure they have like queer disco night and stuff like that. So it's a cool venue. I've never been to a show there like music, but been doing comedy there forever. And the first time I went there was September of 2023. And like famously, I like had been there for, I had gone like every week for a couple months before I tried it for the first time. And I saw a lot of people. I saw a lot of people like Adam Tiller and Nick Cody and Quinn Fitzgerald and Dino Dad. And it was cool. It was very, Tony V's has always been a cool place to do comedy. It's the exception to the rule because the hosts and the people who work there were pretty good at keeping it in check as far as like loud, obnoxious a-holes, you know. Plus, because of the way that it was set up, the stage and the room was separate from the rest of the bar. So, but yeah, Tony V's is, I saw like last year that they had sold the building, or they were trying to sell the building, trying to sell the business, something like that. Tony, the guy who started it, is getting old, wants to retire. And then, finally, I was scheduled to do a feature at the end of this month, June. But Mr. Adam had to message me and let me know that it was no longer happening, which is quite a bummer. But especially because it's literally like 23 minutes from my house. Like, I could come home from work, I can hang out, eat dinner, change, and then drive back and have plenty of time to sign up. Or maybe do the podcast or something like that. But R.I.P. Tony V's. Let's see. What's else been going on? I'm trying to get on Roastbusters, Narin's podcast. So if anybody out there can help me with that, holla at your boy. Movies. I watched a few movies last month. First of all, I watched The Conversation, 1974, Francis Ford Coppola, starring Gene Hackman. This is a movie. This movie's awesome. As I get older, I am just so done with new movies. Like, these high impact CGI, HD, it's just too much for me. Like, everybody is so excited for The Odyssey, this Christopher Nolan movie coming out. And it's like, I could care less. All right. When I was a kid, there was an Odyssey TV movie, 2 parts, starring Armando Sante, and you guys should check that out because that is the quintessential telling of the Odyssey. I don't know about Nolan. Like Nolan and Tarantino and I don't know who else could you put in there. Who's the other guy? I guess Aronofsky. I don't know. Fincher, David Fincher, that's the other one. All these directors, I love their early stuff, but then as time goes on, they get too much money and their stuff just looks too smooth and it gets too convoluted and too complicated. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Christopher Nolan, like Interstellar, greatest movie of all time. I don't think so. I will never watch Interstellar again, like I don't care if it's mathematically perfect. All right. Like it's boring. All right. Bring me Memento any day of the week. Test that, you fucking quack. Memento. That is a Christopher Nolan movie. Joe Pantoliano, Guy Pearce, tattoos, Steven Tobolowsky. Yeah. Check that one out. I really hope that's Christopher Nolan. Otherwise, I'm going to sound like an idiot. But I'm pretty sure that was him. And I'm pretty sure he did Insomnia with Pacino and Robin Williams. So, but yeah, The Conversation, Francis Ford Coppola. So basically, in this movie, it takes place in the 70s, and it's in San Francisco, in I think Union Square, and it's this couple. They're walking around, and these people are listening to them, and it's the whole scene plays out, and it's like these different people who have like secret listening devices, and it's a public park, and they're just trying to capture this conversation without being caught. And the movie is about him replaying it and figuring out what happens and who actually paid him to do this. And then you find out, kind of the backstory of like, it's actually a husband who's spying on his wife. And it's a really great, it's a mystery, but it's not intense. Like there's just something about 70s and 80s movies that really comfort me these days, that they like the fight scenes are goofy. I'm not going to lie. Okay. The fight scenes are goofy, but just the pacing, the pacing and the visuals are what I really appreciate about old movies. And especially, I will constantly preach this over and over again. I hate like quick cuts. Like I feel like quick cuts are made for two reasons. One, you're hiding something. You don't want people to see it. And two, ADHD. Like people can't handle just staring at something for a while. But I like a long, slow camera pan or just a static scene, That's like the dorkiness of my cinematography brain coming out. Like if you ever watch a Nicholas Winding Refn movie, like if you watch Only God Forgives, I mean, every scene in that movie is like a painting, But regardless, I watched a movie called Vesper. Came out like I think 2022, and this is a cool one. This is like an indie sci-fi kind of post-apocalyptic world, a world where like basically everybody lives poor, and it's kind of like a similar to like the Great Depression, but it's in the future, and there's no crops, and the seeds have been they basically have been programmed by the government to only been grown once. And so they control the food. And so everybody's starving to death, and these genetic engineered seeds, like I said, only grow one crop. So they have to keep going back and buying more seeds. And it's just like, there's a lot of grossness in it because it's like futuristic sci-fi. So there's like a lot of organs outside of people's bodies. And it's about this girl who's like trying to keep her dad alive, and he's like barely being kept alive by this futuristic, like homemade, iron lung or whatever. And then his consciousness is inside of a droid that follows her around as she goes around and tries to save tries to get herself a better life. And then there's this guy that has all these kids that live in a house, and they all he feeds off of their blood. It's a cool take on post-apocalyptic sci-fi, and it's indie movie, but visual effects are really good. CGI is not bad. and I'm not a CGI guy. But Vesper was great. Another movie I watched was another one. This one was called The Menu. And this was a horror movie with Ralph Fiennes. You guys know him as Voldemort. But, I mean, dude, one of the best actors of all time. I mean, Schindler's List, Strange Days. What are you going to do? But in The Menu, it's about people that get invited to as a very exclusive island. Rich people get invited to this exclusive island to have a special meal prepared by an exclusive world-renowned chef. And what happens, without giving away too much, is just the meal does not go according to plan, and it ends up being the last meal for pretty much everybody. And a lot of twists and turns, a lot of dark humor, and not necessarily like... It's actually what I like a lot about horror these days. Like most of the horror movies that I've been into lately aren't necessarily the traditional like guy chasing the girl down with a knife, or just the straight up fear, like the regular beats. Like The Menu is a movie where it's like the horror comes about as often as the comedy. Like it's a good mix of both. And that reminds me of movies like Smile and stuff like that, kind of more modern stuff. So The Menu, I definitely recommend if you're looking for something kind of different and dark. And then the last movie I watched this month, AKA Charlie Sheen. That's right. Adonis DNA. Tiger's blood. I'm winning. Banging 5-gram rocks. 7-gram rocks. That's what it is. Not 5. 7. So AKA Charlie Sheen. This is a 2-part documentary that was released on Netflix a couple months ago. And it details, the man, the actor, the actor who has been notoriously known as the party man his entire career from the 80s on. And it follows a lot of a lot of his personal life, a lot of stuff that I didn't know. It starts off in the very beginning of him just as a kid with his brother Emilio Estevez and their buddy Sean Penn and his brother Chris Penn, all these actors that went on to do big movies. They used to just hang out and make their own home movies in their backyards. And he would travel with his dad on movie sets and eventually became an actor himself. And then they got into a lot of the party stuff, and I didn't know that he was good friends with Nicolas Cage. So Charlie Sheen and Nicolas Cage used to hang out together in the 90s. I mean, wow. That's amazing. I mean, like to be with those two guys in like 1995 on like in the Viper Room and Johnny Depp. I mean, what are you going to do? That sounds ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, everybody remembers the Charlie Sheen, the 2011, the meltdown. He had the famous interview on the news. He was doing 2.5 Men. At that time, he was the highest paid actor of all time. He's getting like $2 million an episode. And yeah, I was watching a lot of TMZ back then. In fact, at that time, I think it was 2010 or 11. Maybe it was 10, but it was definitely 11. Yeah, either way, I went down to LA with my mom, and that summer, because we went to WWE SummerSlam, that summer was the Charlie Sheen summer. So we went to like Hollywood Boulevard and all of the souvenir shops. They had the Charlie Sheen posters, the Adonis DNA, Tiger's blood, all that stuff. I mean, it was huge. And yeah, they got into the tour. He was on a tour where he, in the middle of this whole drug-fueled craziness, he sold a bunch of tickets. And I always wondered what happened at those shows. And then they actually showed footage of people just like, yeah, that sucked. We feel bad for anybody that bought tickets. That was terrible. But I did see on eBay, I could buy a poster from that tour. So if anybody wants to get me anything for my birthday, it is August 25th. But yeah, it's, and I was very surprised. I didn't even expect them to go into this, but he addressed the rumor about the whole Corey Haim thing, that Corey Feldman was out there, that he even made a movie about. And if you guys don't know what that is, just type in Corey Haim, Charlie Sheen, and you're gonna get some interesting news stories out there. But he addressed it, and he's like, yeah, it's BS. It never happened. So I don't know. But he admitted that he said that he didn't become bi, or he didn't get with men until after he started getting into the crack. But I don't know. I mean, I just feel like, those guys in the 80s, and especially with the Corey Haim rumors, that's just like, he was probably doing it back then and just decided not to admit it until later. But top 5 Charlie Sheen movies, huh? What do you think they are? I mean, obviously you gotta go with Platoon, you gotta go with Wall Street. Hot Shots, obviously. And then I'm gonna even throw in Part 2 as just keep them as a pair. Now, 2 more Charlie Sheen movies. The Chase. The Chase is probably my favorite of all of them. The Chase is a great one. It's about him accidentally taking a girl for hostage, and it's a comedy, So now, 5th. What's our 5th top 5? So like I said, let's recap. We got obviously Wall Street. We got Platoon. We got The Chase. We have I don't know. It's gonna be one more good one. The Arrival? No, not The Arrival. I don't know. Yeah, let's just say Ferris Bueller. Why not? I mean, they even addressed that Ferris Bueller. But I'm running out of steam here. Where am I at? I've done an hour. I cannot believe it. We've done it. We've done an hour, just me sitting here, checking in with you guys, letting you know just letting me ramble here in my garage all by myself. So what's going to happen with the pod? It'll continue as needed. This podcast is not necessarily like a show like, hey, you need to tune in this week. This is what's happening. This is more like, hey, let's just check in and see what's going on. I do have some plans in the future. I'm going to do this podcast. I'm going to bring the podcast down to Tacoma for some sort of a live thing in July. And once I have more details on that, I'll let you know. But as far as I know, it's going to be at Porch Fest, and I believe it's going to be on a Sunday afternoon. And if that's happening, I'm going to have a lot of surprises. I'm going to have at least 3 guests on the show, and I think we're going to do it it's like a live setting, so we might have an audience, so that'd be pretty cool too. Maybe we can play some games, we can give away some stuff. Got the contest coming up, and I'm going to the Great Wolf Lodge. That'll be fun since I haven't worked out in like 3 years, but who am I trying to impress, right? I just don't need to eat. I'll just not eat for a few days and I'll make it. Looking forward to the podcast, looking forward to more comedy. And I don't know. I got a documentary I'm working on that I'm going to talk about later. But it's the biggest project that I have decided to take on yet. So all fun stuff, all that you should check out. So Other than that, guys, just follow me at Stephen MJ Comedy. Follow at Comedy Simp Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And
Rising up in the comedy scene.
That's it.
He's a force to be reckoned.
Seacrest out.
Comedy Simp, the podcast you can't resist. Stephen Michael James, the host you won't wanna miss. From Seattle to the world, his humor will persist. Join the fun, get ready to enlist. Spitting fire.